Welcome back to The Alt. Thank you for joining me again today. I am your host, Shapirium. Excited as always to be back with you after kind of a fun Monday night game last night that saw the Dolphins take down the Los Angeles Rams in Inglewood. Something that I don't think a lot of us thought we'd be saying after the way the Dolphins season has gone. A few weeks ago, I think we all kind of wrote them off. That's specifically what we're going to be talking about in this episode, is why we can't do that just yet. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, please check and see if you're subscribed. It takes just a second, minimize it, click subscribe, come back to the video. I would really appreciate it. I'm trying to see if I can get to 200 subs in a quicker time than it took from get to 0 to 100, which was, kind of a longer push there. So every sub matters. It's free, it's easy, and I do seriously greatly appreciate it more than you would know. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. Let's talk about specifically the Miami Dolphins after their Monday night victory over the Los Angeles Rams. And like I said, it was kind of a refreshing game because this version of the Rams doesn't get a ton of prime time anymore. They've had a couple. They had a Sunday night, they had a Thursday night, and they now had a Monday night game, but this Dolphins team doesn't get a ton of primetime games ever. I think that's just because of the state of the franchise over the past 35-ish years, whatever, really, since like the peak Marino days. I think they just don't get a ton of primetime games. But as you know, if you're a day one listener of this show, I had two teams that I call the adopted children of the pod going into this season. Those were the Miami Dolphins and the Atlanta Falcons, both of whom I wildly predicted to do way better than they're actually going to do. In the Falcons' case, it's their own fault. In the Dolphins' case, not as much in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there. But what I'm here to talk about specifically today, is why, despite sitting now at just 3-6 through 9 games, we cannot quite write this Dolphins team off. You just can't do it. Listen, no matter what has transpired so far this season, the bottom line for me is that this is a very talented roster that absolutely is capable of going on a run as the season goes on. And for me, in particular, I just need to see what I thought I would be seeing from them when I predicted them to do really well going into the season. Let's start with their overall record and situation. 3-6? They're going to make the playoffs? That's not going to happen. Have you seen the way they've played all season? They've been hurt all season. Tua's been gone for most of the season, and he's already made a big difference just since returning, albeit, they did lose to the Bills, close game. They did lose to the Cardinals, close game. They did lose to the Colts, close game. The last win until tonight was back over the Patriots a few weeks ago, back when everybody was still beating them, before they ended up randomly beating a couple of teams, which I didn't see coming. But let's look at just last season for a very similar situation that unfolded for a Los Angeles Rams team that I think has a lot of similarities to this particular team. The Los Angeles Rams started off 3-6 in the 2023 season. Losses to the Cowboys, they got blown out. Losses to the Packers, they got blown out. Losses to the Steelers. They lost to the Bengals week 3 Monday night. They dealt with injuries all season. They ended up having a game where Stafford couldn't even play. And ended up being just fine. That team, for the first 9 games last season, was not the version of them that we all expected to see. And it wasn't the version of them that would end up defining their season. A season that I think Rams fans remember quite fondly. They ended up seeing them rattle off 7 of 8 coming off their bye week, with their only loss being in overtime to the juggernaut 2023 Baltimore Ravens after that, until they ended up barely losing to the Detroit Lions last season. That Rams team was electric. They did have something going for it that I also think is going for this Dolphins team. This is what I'm going to pitch to you right here. Dolphins fans, if you're listening, I know you all already know this, but I guess really to the non-Dolphins fans listening then, find me 2 guaranteed losses in here. I'll give you a hint. You can't, because that's what we're looking at. They probably need to go 10-7 to get in. 9-8 I don't think gets the job done, just because they have no tiebreakers over the rest of their divisional games. And that being said, they could end up finishing the year 4-2 in the division if they sweep the Patriots and the Jets both, which is very much on the table in my opinion. But with that said, find me 2 guaranteed losses in here. Raiders at home. Patriots at home for the second time. On the road against the Packers. Jets at home. On the road against the Texans. Okay. 49ers, December 22nd, at home. Cleveland Browns at the Jets. It's not going to be a cakewalk. It's not going to be smooth sailing. Convince me they cannot make a run, is all I'm trying to say. Because as things stand, you're like, they're 3-6. What are you talking about? You know, they're 3-6, all right. But guess what? Their bye is in the review window. They look fresh. They look healthy. They look fine. This Rams game wasn't a shootout by any means, but you won by 8. It was a great effort there to finish the job in the fourth quarter there. You scored in every quarter. You take that. Bunch of field goals from Jason Sanders. That's been a weakness of theirs all season. He seems to miss untimely ones. Got the job done. I'm not saying that I'm predicting that they're going to be hoisting the Lombardi. I'm just saying they're not done yet. Look at them with Tua back. Look what he did last night. Efficiency, all right? Over 10 yards of completion. Yes, he threw the interception, okay? That defense came right back out and said, hold on, it's our ball. I just like the way they look right now, going into a stretch of games that could really see them get hot quick. Tell me that they're not going to be 500 ASAP. Now at 3-6, Dolphins, Patriots, Packers, Jets. You win 3 of those 4, I guess you're still a game under 500 if the Packers are your one loss to get to 10-7. Let's not focus as much on the Dolphins' schedule. Let's assume they do their part to get to 10-7, potentially 9-8. I don't think 9-8 is going to get you in the AFC, but maybe a 4-2 divisional record could get the job done in a very weak AFC East, which I believe is the second tiebreaker after head-to-head, correct? Am I right there? I think that's how that works. The wild card situation is very, very weird. Right now, the Denver Broncos have the final 7th spot in the AFC playoff standings. It's the second wild card. 2 AFC West wild card teams right now. Who saw that coming? Not me. But they still play a bunch of competitive games, coming off of now 2 losses against the best teams they've played, the Ravens and the Chiefs. They now have to play the Falcons, who are looking to rebound after a tough loss to the Saints, before they go into the Raiders and the Browns, a couple of easy ones. Then they've got the Colts, who are right in the thick of things, and I think will remain right in the thick of things until down the stretch. Divisional matchup against the Chargers, who are also competing for a wild card spot. Tough game there for the Broncos. Then they've got the Bengals. I don't freaking know what to think of the Bengals right now. I have no clue what to think of the Bengals. The Bengals could be literally stuck at 4 wins still when that match comes on December 29th. They end the game, or the season, with the Chiefs, who could be resting starters if they've lost by then, or potentially not. I don't really know what to think of it. If you look at the schedule, it's like, oh my god, they might really go 17-0. I don't know. The Broncos absolutely are going to drop some down the stretch, and as things stand, the Dolphins are 1.5 games back from the Broncos because the Broncos have played an extra game. The Dolphins simply have to start stacking wins. You look at this defense, and I think as long as they stay healthy, it's a defense that I think you can generally trust more than maybe most other Dolphins defenses over the years. Is that fair? They've got some names who, granted they've not all been phenomenal, certainly should continue to add down the stretch. I know Jordan Poyer has had his moments this season, Dolphins fans. I completely understand. I get it. Calais Campbell still showed on Monday night that he's still going to be a contributor to this team. I trust him. Kendall Fuller's going to get fully healthy. I trust him. That's a championship-level cornerback that you've got there. Jalen Ramsey on the other end just got paid again. You trust him when the games matter down the stretch. And I think as long as this defense can keep them in low-scoring games, against these teams like the Packers, against these teams like the Texans, who are so inconsistent, by the way. I know you heard Texans, Dolphins, like Texans all day. And maybe that's the case. Maybe they come out and they get shelled by the Packers, they get shelled by the 49ers, they get shelled by the Texans, and I look like a fool for considering that this 3-6 team, at once 2-6 team, could make a playoff run. Perhaps. But I'm going to say, not a prediction that they make it. I don't have them making it. I'm just saying we can't count them out yet. That's all I'm asking you to hear, okay? If you're a Dolphins fan, I know you want to hear it. If you're not a Dolphins fan, consider it. They're not quite out yet. Pay attention to the next few weeks. Huge games. They cannot fumble against the Raiders. I mean, stumble, really, not literally fumble. Like, stumble against the Raiders. They cannot stumble against the Patriots. They absolutely cannot. Look, Matthew Stafford threw the ball 46 times on Monday night against the Dolphins. Managed to only score 15 points. You take that all day. Kyren Williams has been one of the league's most efficient backs all season, really since his rookie season where he debuted kind of halfway through. 15 carries, 62 yards, barely 4 yards a carry. Take that. This team has what it takes to stack some wins. That's all I'm trying to say, okay? Don't shoot the messenger, and I'm not predicting it. So forgive me if you're like, what are you really saying then? Are you just saying a bunch of nothing? I'm just saying, I don't think anyone, if you tune into any other shows on this Tuesday, I post this Tuesday, 7 a.m. Eastern, watch the rest of the shows on Tuesday, hardly anyone, despite the fact that they are the most fresh, recent win in the NFL, is going to say, they're not out of it just yet. Hold on, they're not out of it. We saw it just last season where a team went 3-6 and then went on to go 10-7 to make the playoffs in the Los Angeles Rams. And I think I can see a lot of similarities, minus, of course, the championship pedigree that the Rams have, in this team to that team. That's all I'm trying to say. So with that said, that does wrap up this episode of the Yo. Like I said, we're trying some new stuff, hyper-focused, shorter, specific episodes of the show. So you made it this far in the episode. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. Do me a favor, check and see if you're subscribed, and if you're not, please consider clicking that little subscribe button. It helps a ton. What also helps a ton is if you join in the conversation on the comments down below. I love hearing from you. I answer all of my comments, and it's really fun hearing what you guys have to add to the conversations. Am I wrong on the Dolphins not being out of it? I'm not predicting them to win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying they're not out of it. They're a game and a half back in the AFC wildcard right now. You telling me Broncos, Bengals, Colts are all for sure going to be at the head of them at the end there? I'm not so sure. I believe it. Sorry, I'm not. That is it for this one. Come back tomorrow as we continue our little midweek transition into week 11 already somehow. I have no idea how we're there. Huge matchups this week, including a big one on Thursday night between the Eagles and the Commanders that I'm really excited about. We'll be sure to preview that one as the week comes along to Thursday as well. With that said, that is it for today. I will see you back here bright and early tomorrow.